to say if they believe one person dead is the shooter, it would be that person that they found near a gun and ammunition. I'm going to bring in NBC law enforcement analyst and former ATF agent Jim Kavanaugh, who rejoins me. He's been with us all hour covering this breaking news. Jim, you made a very good point, and it seems as the Howard County Police Department has reiterated that people who are inside right now don't just come out even though you think everything's fine, right?
Right. Stay where you are. You don't want to open any doors unless you're absolutely 1,000% sure it's the police. And the way to do that is to, talk to them. You might be able to hear their radios and multiple voices. They can slip their ID under the door. If there's any doubt, you can dial 911. You can tell them your location. They can talk to the officer. Just be absolutely sure. You've got plenty of time now if the police are outside for them to handle the situation. There's no rush to get out. Just hunker down, stay safe. This is the procedure.
Yeah. Jim, I want to know, I don't know if you can see the pictures being provided to us by WBAL. These are aerial shots right now. It doesn't look like we're seeing people running out in mass groups. I mean, it looks like everything is pretty secure at this time. When you're looking at a scene like this where you have 3 dead as a result of gunshots that's coming up on 2 hours ago, is it pretty safe to say that you're comfortable that the scene is secure and that they don't believe that there are other shooters out there?
From what we can see here, Alex, it looks static. So it looks like SWAT has arrived, on-scene tactical command has been established, and they at least have a lot of information we don't have. They know maybe where the shooter is, whether he's the person who's reported with the gun and ammunition near him, or they have the shooter isolated and located in a certain area. Now, we can't see everything and we can't know everything, but 2 hours into it, Howard County is going to have their SWAT there. They're going to have the tactical on-scene commander there, and they're going to be making their decisions based on that. So this is a heartbreaking story. I mean, we have a report of 3 or 4 people killed. We obviously have people in the Howard County area who don't know where their family or relatives are missing, so it's a real heartbreaker. But it may be static at the moment, and they can then deal with, getting the other people out. We're starting to see some people on the feed walk out. I think that's a good sign. They're walking out under the direction of police, so they're safe. So that's a good sign. It's getting safer after the initial tragedy. Yeah.
Hey, Jim, I'm curious. You would assume that first on the scene would be those private security mall officers that you see going around. I'm trying to rack my brain and think whether I see guns in holsters on their hips as they cruise malls where I've gone shopping. Are they armed with guns usually?
Well, that varies, Alex, from mall to mall and state to state and city to city, whether or not the uniformed security are armed. And a lot of times they're patrolling the parking lots to prevent shoplifting or, people being accosted or mugged in a parking lot. And this is really different than, overall facility security. And like we talked earlier, no one should be able, it remains to be seen here, it's a handgun or a long gun, but no one should be able to walk into a mall with a long gun exposed, that the mall doesn't have some a way to lock those doors. Picture yourself, some mall security person in a room that has access to a bank of cameras that can see every entrance to the 10 entrances to the mall. And even though they may not have a uniformed officer at every door, if they see a guy walking across the parking lot dressed in black with a rifle, they should be able to hit a button and shut all the doors. But we haven't reached that level yet. But we need to be thinking about that, because this is a constant, ongoing horror that the country's experiencing.
Right. Well, you're talking about a long gun, and certainly that is an obvious reaction, and one that we should work towards getting that sort of a solution. But when you've got licensed, registered handguns that can be carried concealed, I mean, they can be carried in someone's purse, in someone's coat pocket. We have the big, heavy overcoats these days, given the weather. How do you go about protecting yourself against that?
Well, that's right. And a lot of guns that are used in these mass shootings are obtained illegally and possessed illegally. Let me give you an example for a loophole in the law. The Navy shooter who had a Texas driver's license and wound up in Virginia killing all our veterans and heroes at the Navy Yard, if the law had been like it had been after the '68 Gun Control Act, he would not even have been allowed to buy that shotgun in Virginia, because his He was a resident of Texas. But the law was watered down in the mid-'80s, in 1986, to allow that sale to happen. So, we changed the laws and we don't think it's going to have an effect, but gun laws stop a lot of murder and killings, and they can be very effective if they're written correctly, not to, impose undue restriction on lawful owners, but they can be very effective if they're the right law.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone, I want to reiterate this breaking news and all the developments as we know them at this point as we approach 1 o'clock here on the East Coast and getting into our next hour here of Weekends with Alex Witt. What we know is that 3 people have been killed inside the mall in Columbia. That is Columbia, Maryland, about 20 miles south of Baltimore, a suburb there of Baltimore and Washington, D.C. It happened about an hour and 45 minutes ago. That is when the calls came into the Howard County Police Department around 11:15 Eastern Time about gunshots fired inside that mall. Again, 3 people have been confirmed dead, with 1 deceased, not identified at this time, though 1 person's body, not identified as male or female, was found near a gun and some ammunition. We don't know if this was a targeted attack. We're not sure about the identities. What we are right now most concerned about is making sure that mall stays in lockdown and secure, as the Howard County Police Department has indicated it is right now. You're joining us with WBAL's live coverage showing us these aerials.